The light of the moon is totally different than that of the sun. The effects it has on plants and food is different, and even the temperature is different. In the sunlight, the shade is always cooler than the sunlight itself. However, in the moonlight, it is cooler, while in the shade it is warmer. The moonlight couldn't be reflecting the sun's light, because then it would have the same effects in temperature, but it appears the moon is emitting its own light and is translucent. The phases are a function of the moon, and it is not a spherical ball of rock reflecting sunlight as we are told, but rather is a transparent, self-luminous disk. If the moon were a sphere, then we should be able to see the other side along with different faces, yet we see only one side. Not only that, but many people have taken images of the moon with stars being seen through it, and in the afternoon, you can see the blue sky right through the moon. Just look at these Muslim and Freemasonic depictions of the moon with the stars shining through it. Yes and no. It is obvious that there are lights in the sky revolving above our heads called stars, but the mainstream version of what we believe about outer space is simply not true. The only reason we believe things about outer space is thanks to Hollywood, school science books, and government space agencies. No one knows for sure what those lights in the sky are, but all we do know is that they appear to be moving around us and that we are in the center. The sun and moon appear to be the same size because they are the same size. Mainstream science wants you to believe that the reason the sun and moon look like the same size is because the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon and 400 times farther away. They say that this is just a coincidence, but that is their way of trying to explain why they appear to be similar sizes. It is fairly obvious that the sun and moon are both circling overhead and are both equally balanced opposites and are the same size. Many skeptics like to use eclipses as proof of a globular Earth because of the round shadow that is cast upon the lunar surface. They claim that the sun, Earth, and moon align in a perfect 180-degree syzygy, with the sun casting Earth's shadow on the moon. The only problem with this unproven theory is that over 50 times in the past 2,000 years, there have been lunar eclipses where the sun is still in the sky as the shadow is being cast upon the moon. This makes their theory impossible, because the sun would be behind the ball Earth in a straight line with the Earth and moon, making it the only way for the Earth's round shadow to be cast on the moon. However, in many eclipses, you can see the sun in the sky at the same time as the moon, so the angle of the 180-degree syzygy is not the case, and the round shadow on the moon couldn't possibly be from the Earth. The ancients had their own explanation for this, known as Rahu, or the Black Sun, which is a third celestial body we are not told about that eclipses the sun and moon and is the same size. Ancient cultures described Rahu as a dark body, and that it is what caused eclipses, not the Earth's shadow. Whether it is actually Rahu causing eclipses, I feel we need more evidence, but this was the explanation the ancients had for eclipses. One ball Earth proof is that sinks, drains, and toilets all spin one direction in the northern hemisphere, while in the southern hemisphere, they spin the opposite direction. This is known as the Coriolis effect. However, in the same house, people can observe water draining in different directions. If water spinning in a direction was the primary result of Earth's motion, then water should never be seen spinning in different directions in the same hemisphere, yet this is exactly what occurs. The water will drain based on the shape of the basin or the direction the water is flowing in, but not because of the Earth's shape. This trick is easily done by pouring the water in and draining it in the same direction. This is just another excuse to keep the globe Earth model going and proves nothing. When comparing the amateur pictures and videos of what we know as planets, it is obvious that NASA's pictures of planets are CGI fakes. We don't even know what planets are, better yet what shape they are, other than that they are lights in the sky. Ancient cultures had their own description of what we would call planets. They knew planets as wandering stars, because they were lights in the sky, just like stars that wandered in their own unique paths different from the other stars. The word planet itself is just the word plane with a T added to the end of it. Planets, or wandering stars, are not what we have been told they are, and using lights in the sky to prove the shape of the Earth beneath your feet is not a valid argument to be made. Gravity was originally thought of by Freemason Sir Isaac Newton, who claimed that instead of objects falling due to density, rather they fell due to a mystical pulling force in which a smaller object can be pulled or attracted to a bigger object. Of course, gravity can be observed nowhere in nature, and scientists claim to have recently discovered gravitational waves, yet they still can't even prove it with experiments. Gravity also seems to be fickle and selective, and not only is it a force that pulls objects to the center of the spinning ball Earth, but it is also a force that allows heavenly bodies such as planets to orbit around bigger bodies. How is it that a force can be strong enough to hold oceans, buildings, and people stuck to the Earth, yet just weak enough to allow bugs, birds, and planes to fly freely in every direction? How is it that gravity can keep the oceans from flying off into space, but weak enough not to sink a sailboat? We are also told that gravity is what allows moons to orbit planets and planets to orbit around stars. Either gravity should cause people to stick to the Earth, or it should cause people to orbit the Earth. It should either allow the moons and planets to crash into the sun, or it should cause planets and moons to orbit the sun. Both functions are clearly different. The natural world around us was explained by the laws of density and buoyancy, in which objects fell due to being denser than the air surrounding it, or being less dense than the air surrounding it, so it rises like a helium balloon. Density and buoyancy are the only reasons why objects fall or rise, and gravity can be found nowhere in the natural world and is a hoax. The sun circles over the Earth from tropic to tropic, so when the sun is circling at the Tropic of Cancer closest to the North Pole, or the center of the flat Earth, it is summer in the north and winter in the south. When the sun is circling nearest the southern Tropic of Capricorn, it is summer in the south and winter in the north. Since the sun is smaller and closer than we have been told, it is more logical to think that this is the reason why we have seasons. If the sun was 93 million miles away, we should very rarely experience temperature differences, better yet, not 4 distinct seasons. The sun is not 93 million miles away like what we have been told, but rather it is close and circling above us. The sun cannot be observed from every angle at all times on the Earth as it passes by, so time zones are caused by its motion above us. Every 15-degree demarcation point around the circle is 1 hour, giving us different 1-hour time zones 24 times a day.